What if I told you the difference between 50,000 and 200,000 a month in remodeling business could be as simple as 3 different words in your advertising?
Today, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the psychology and strategy behind ads that actually convert in our industry. We've analyzed thousands of successful campaigns, and we're going to break down exactly what separates the winners from the wannabes. So welcome back to the Fitz and Franson show. And today we're going to talk a lot more about what it looks like to create and manage successful ad campaigns.
Yeah, looking forward to the conversation. So, Jay is, I'm fortunate to have Jay as a partner in this journey and these conversations. And you and your team have built a really successful marketing business and partnered with some great companies across the country. So, one of my favorite things that we go to these different spots and everybody goes, oh, well, our market's a little different. And the reality is that human beings are still in each one of these markets and we all make decisions the same ways, right? So, we spend things a little bit differently as far as the cost of things in certain markets. But generally speaking, the psychology and the methodology we use is the same, whether we're in New York City or, Dallas, Texas, or, California and everywhere in between. So, but excited to be able to pick your brain a little bit here, Jay, and be able to share with the listeners some of the things that you and your team have been able to learn over the years and help our dealers grow and be able to get the leads and opportunities they need for their salespeople. So I think it's important, though, if you're okay with it, we dive into first the people that it is that we're trying to go out there and get, right, and understand who they are and kind of what's going on in their lives and maybe how to get their attention. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You're talking about the homeowner's journey.
Yeah. One of the things I think that is real important is to understand, I think, something that at least I believe that they all have in common. And I don't know if you've heard me do this in some of the trainings. I'll ask a general question and I will jokingly say that I think that they all have a quality, maybe not the best of qualities or character trait or however you want to say it, that they have in common, right? And it's something that I may have been a little guilty of when I was in school. Any guesses at what that might be?
I'd say you probably like to put things off, maybe.
No, Jay, come on, man. You know me better than that. Yeah, absolutely. I was maybe a touch of a procrastinator. It's probably where I developed some of my sales skills. End of the semester, I go into my teacher's office and I'd say, hey, what's it going to take for me to, turn in all that stuff at the end of the semester and pass the class, right? Hope my dad's not listening to this at this point, kind of thing. But yeah, I think one of the things that, is important to remember is that the second somebody moves into a home or has lived there for any period of time, the honey-do list or the things that we have on the list of things we'd like to do in our home, they don't get shorter, they get longer, right? I mean, I've been in my home now for 6 years and I can continually think of new things that I would like to do to the house. So today, tomorrow, whenever they finally fill out the form, wasn't the first day they started thinking about doing the thing that we advertised for. And so it's really important that we're top of mind when that, kind of, heat of the moment or level of excitement reaches its peak, which is hard to do. I think the other thing that's important to remember too is one of the most common things that keeps somebody from entering this market, besides that procrastination, is a little bit of a fear. Right. And you know this as well as anybody, Jay, because you guys get asked the question that is probably the biggest thing that they're fearful of, right? Which is what? When your people are on the phone or, in the chats on the messengers and Facebook and social media, was the number one question they get asked.
How much will it cost?
Yeah. How much is it going to cost? Right. And I think one of the things that probably gets mistaken is that people only want to buy if it's going to be cheap. If you really dig into it, I think the psychology of it is that's an easy way to get an out. They've tried to search. They know they can't find it anywhere. Really what it is that keeps people from entering this market. And we hear it constantly as feedback from people that decided not to do something. It's a fear of the hassle, right? It's a feel of like,
yeah,
I have to set aside 2 hours of time for somebody to come out, measure, go through their whole thing. Then I got to set aside 2 weeks later for somebody to come out, tear my house apart, and then could go wrong. And it's going to cost me a lot of money and this whole thing, right? So we got the procrastination, we got that. This is a whole kind of ball of wax that marketing's got to figure out and make it shiny and bright and exciting and all the call to action stuff. And I'm glad you guys set me up to just go in the house and, look like the knight in shining armor. That makes it super easy and fun at that point. So thank you for what you do. For the sales guys that are mad at me for thanking marketing, every now and again we got to do that, guys. Sorry.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and I wanted to touch on that too. You know, you talked about we need to be in front of them, and there's two types of marketing that we focus on, and the one is just brand awareness. You know, I think we'll probably bring this up later on in the episode, but most people need to have an experience with your brand as many as 12 times before they make a decision. And so when you are formulating your campaigns, you've got both a brand awareness effort, and that's wearing a polo, wrapping your truck, putting yard signs in, you know, doing traditional awareness marketing like a billboard or maybe TV or radio, where, yeah, they generate leads because people will say, hey, I saw you on TV and I called. But legitimate lead generation campaigns are a different type of messaging. And so both of them are important. And to your point about people just not wanting the hassle, that's so true too. And so in the messaging, we're going to talk about, you know, how can I show you that getting this done now rather than later is a better option? Like, speak to the pain points that they have.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely, you know, the motivation for, you know, many projects. There's kind of two projects that we do in our homes. There's the need and the want projects, right? So, and for the clients that we work with on both ends of the spectrum, right? And for the need customer, you know, windows are drafty, like, you know, cold time of the year, we got to start pumping messages that talk about stuff like that, right? For the want stuff, like, we got to start painting the picture of like the happy, you know, family doing, you know, it's getting ready to be that Thanksgiving time of the year. So maybe we're opening up, pulling the cars out and doing Thanksgiving in there. So you paint good messages with things like that, but it's about, like you said, branding and top of mind and awareness kind of thing. One of the things I think that you touched on there that's really important, though, is kind of like that like ease, right, kind of thing, and like that you talk about social proof and some other things as well too. So how do you tie that into your messaging, like the ease and like the social proof? Like, what are good ways that our listeners who may be struggling with this, because we hear this right now, leads are down, clicks are down, responses are down. We need more leads, right? So what are some ways that you can, I guess, interject that into your messaging that, hey, it's going to be easy to work with us, and others have done it and have responded and said that it was a great experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your messaging, I mean, free quotes, right? It's easy to use that free. I know some of our customers use terms like no hassle, easy, free. And then on our end, we also, the customers that we schedule for, we set them at ease right away, where we say, hey, I'm a human. Hey, my name is Jay. I'd love to help you. And then we try and connect them to the salesperson by name. So we say, hey, I'd love to have, you know, our design consultant, Johnny, come out and meet with you tomorrow. How does that sound? And so then they're starting to go, oh, I know your name. I know the sales rep's name. I feel more at ease about doing this. And I think that's really important to make sure that you're setting the customer up to have a real human experience.
Yeah. It's forgive the pun. That's powerful, right? You're making a human connection, right? And immediately, I think that's helping to kind of break down the barrier of that fear of like, I don't know who I'm getting involved with and who I'm going to trust with my home, right? That's a big deal, and yeah, I think that's a big thing that you're using the right words, right? We promise words at the top of the show here that are going to help change your ads, but that free, hassle-free, I mean, flat out just tell people, like, we make it easy. We come to you, we bring a showroom to you, you know, and help design those things for you. Have you noticed any words in particular, like when it comes to that like might turn people off as far as the conversations in particular, when it comes to like quotes or estimates or those kinds of things?
Don't tell them no. I think that sometimes you get in trouble. I always tell the customer yes, even if ultimately it'll be a no. Try not to say unfortunately. Hey, can you help? Unfortunately, you know, we've had customers that have, you know, there's a minimum job size, and it's like, well, unfortunately, your project's too small for us. It's like, no, let's say yes. Absolutely, we can help. And we can help you. Our projects start at this, if it's appropriate to say so. And you mentioned just kind of the procrastination part. I'm going to circle back a little bit. Is in the messaging that we do, there's an important aspect of the conversation to tell them that now is the right time. And I think that in the messaging, you can get a little bit too spammy or scammy if you have strong words like get it now or you'll miss out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the customer knows that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
They know that you're always looking for more business. So don't use strong language that says you're going to miss out forever.
Yeah.
And too little urgency. I was just talking with my team earlier today about this. Don't finish a conversation without an ask. So don't have an opportunity for them to say, oh, well, if this is always the promotion, then I have no reason to act now. And so message, hey, we're having a fall promotion. If you get booked, by the end of fall, you can save 10% or up to $750 or something like that. So there is kind of a sweet spot in there to say, no, you're going to be glad you did this now rather than later.
Do you ever have a customer that you've worked with that like pushes back on that idea of like having a deadline to a promotion kind of thing? I've had customers in the past that, I like to have like the 30-day, rolling time frame, that kind of thing. And maybe they feel uncomfortable about having the deadline. They don't want to pressure somebody. If you do, what's your advice to that person about, having a deadline or that urgency call to action kind of thing? And again, like you're saying, there's a tipping point of being too pushy for sure, but you got to have something.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of them, I got to think about some of my conversations with my customers. A lot of them, it's to be honest, it's more laziness. I don't want to have to manage what my promotions are. And I find that interesting. I say, well, you need to give them, you need to give the customer an incentive to make a decision. So what do you feel most comfortable offering as a promotion? Yeah, a lot of them it's, well, then I got to tell my sales guys. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Let's back up. Let's figure out a promotion. And, on our end, it's easy enough to just change the language from spring promotion to summer promotion. You don't really need to do much difference. And on our end, we also say, hey, this is in most cases the initial visit discount. And so we'll change the name in our advertising because it is different. But for your sales guys, they can just know that when the customer asks, oh, I saw your promotion on social media or I got a postcard with a promotion. So I'm not sure that answered your question the way you thought I would, but
no,
that's what I see.
I think it's good. I mean, I think there's two things that you actually made another good point off of it. But so, one, I think if for anybody that's got maybe kind of a icky feeling, for lack of a better way of describing it, about it, we all buy things on sales with the Labor Day, the promotion, the December to Remember events, those kinds of things. Like people have sales that like it's this weekend only, and we go to the store to get it. Like, Prime, does it, although now Prime does like Prime Days, I feel like every other week or something along those lines.
Yeah.
It pops up on my phone. But like we used to like Black, what was it, Cyber Monday. Like that was Monday. And people would just be scrolling their phones. So we're all conditioned to do it. Yeah. But you actually made a good point that I hadn't even thought about when we were talking earlier today, Jay, that your salespeople, it becomes stale for too, right? So if you don't rotate the ads out and the offers out, why would they be excited about your offers? So to your point of being lazy about managing your ads and your marketing calendar, your salespeople get lazy about how they talk about your offers and your ads. They're no longer excited about it because it's the same song and dance they did 1,000,000 times this year. So in turn, why would that customer who's sitting in front of them be excited about the $400 off or the $1,000 off that they're being presented when it's like, yeah, and right now for the rest of eternity, we have $1,000 off of the, the promotion that's going on for, for the end of time, kind of thing. So yeah, take it or leave it.
That's right. Yeah. And on our end, it is fun to change some of this stuff up and look for creative ways. We're in October here, and in about a month, actually, yeah. Beginning of November, I'm going to start having dealers call me and say, where'd all my leads go? And they know better. They know that we're heading into Thanksgiving and then Christmas, but they're still going to ask the same question. And so it's a great opportunity to get creative in the offers that you offer the customer. You know, hey, are you hosting Thanksgiving this year? And you're looking at putting some tables out in your garage. What does your floor look like? You know, hey, are you looking at celebrating Christmas with friends and family? What would it look like to increase the square footage of your hostable space? And so getting people to engage when they might be distracted with, you know, buying a turkey and a ham or buying Christmas presents. And it's kind of fun. You know, you go, how can I change the messaging? How can I change the images? I know some locations have, you know, very strong like college sports teams, loyalties. So you say, hey, we do custom floors. It's football season, right? It's the perfect time for you to upgrade the man cave. And so you can adjust those to fill those calendars even in the downtimes. And then in the busier times, you can reduce the promotion because people are in a buying a mood, and you can increase your bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, rolling with the seasons and playing to the locality of your area and putting the sports teams on there. Those kinds of things are huge, and the seasonality of it's big. You know, Mother's Day, Father's Day, those kinds of things. Make sure you're tying those things in. Makes you real, makes you human, and it makes you a local company, which people still in today's world, they want to support. Even in the Amazon world that we live in, people still want to support the local company when they have the chance to. So those are powerful things. Well, if you're okay with it, want to talk a little bit about definitely a class that I procrastinated in, Jay. I know you guys at Powerful have a really cool formula to break down the anatomy of that's the class that I procrastinated, and I don't even know that I actually finished it, if I'm being honest. The anatomy of a high converting ad, right? And that's probably one of the biggest things that if listeners were tuning in to try to get, you know, some sort of key nugget out of today's show, that would probably be one they want to walk away with. And I know you guys have a systematic kind of approach to it, and a formula with it. So if you don't mind breaking down and sharing with the group here how you guys look at that.
Yeah, we have a fun little acronym that is POWRFUL. And so the first one is P, which is pictures. And, you know, we talk to customers that shout out to Company Cam, right? Maybe we can get those guys on our show at some point. But it's a great place to organize your content. And, you know, contrary to what a lot of customers request of us, is on social media, unedited content performs better for the algorithm than polished content when it comes to lead generation. What you want to do is tell a real story. And so your before and afters are incredibly important. We usually start with the after. So the customer goes, wow, that's okay, or that's kind of pretty. But then they see the before and they go, holy crap, that before was terrible.
Yeah.
You know, because concrete is not fantastic. It doesn't really have a wow factor. You know, like changing the color of your house. People walk up and they're like, man, it used to be like brown and now it's this beautiful, you know, gray blue or something. What a transformation. Now we're saying your concrete was gray and now it's like bluish gray. Right. And so having a clear after, good lighting, and then having a similar angle of the before and go, gosh, that floor had oil stains. That floor had some cracks in it. It had some like rust spots on it, like somebody left a fridge on it. And now all of a sudden it's uniform and it's beautiful. And the other thing that we tell people, and it's hard for them to do, is get your installers to take pictures during the process. And so you let the images tell the story more than you even let the words tell the story. And so we usually go a beautiful after, an ugly before, or, you know, whatever the before is, and then a couple of pictures of the guys. We want to sell them on, these are trained professionals and you don't own this equipment. You don't have the correct PPE. You don't have respirators. You don't own a industrial strength vacuum cleaner. You don't own a industrial strength diamond grinder that profiles your floor. And so, you know, that first one is pictures. Get good ones, but don't worry about exceptional quality. You don't need a $10,000 camera. Your phone will do just fine.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. You mentioned the installers in there too. I can't stress that enough from a sales perspective. Getting in the home, being able to show some of your advertisements or even the social media clips, that they have out there with installers in there that you can put names to faces with of who's going to show up to do the install. It goes a long way, not just to get me in the door, but to get them in the door, after the fact is massive. And if you go and you look at the reviews that most companies have online, the people that get named in those reviews, typically not the salesperson, typically not the marketer, right? It's typically the installer. They're the last people that they get to see, and they're the people that spend the most amount of time with them in their home. So, they're the star of the show. And we need to make sure that, we put them front and center. That's who they're going to trust to tear apart their home and put it back together. So anytime we can get that stuff going, if you can get pictures of them and the customers together, I know I might be jumping ahead on your powerful acronym there, but those things are huge for sure. So
yeah.
So I wasn't great at spelling either, Jay, in class, but we got P. What's O? That's probably about as far as I can get through powerful without getting a letter or two wrong in a row here. So we'll go that route, and I'll let you spell the rest.
Yeah, and we spell it a little different here, so it's understandable. But O is the offer. Don't just do a price discount. Do some sort of value proposition. In the concrete coating industry specifically, one-day installation, that is a great value proposition, because we were talking earlier about people procrastinating and having just a fear of the mess that they might create. I don't want to open up Pandora's box. I think almost everybody that owns a home has a horror story about a project that went horribly wrong. Our kitchen was supposed to be done in 2 days, and it was 2 weeks. Right. And it's like, a plumber said he could have it done in half a day, and here we are 3 days later without water in the house. Right. So those are stories that are real, and most homeowners can relate. And so a 1-day installation, that's a great value prop. Oh, you guys will be in and out in a day. Well, now I'm way more interested. And in a epoxy versus polyurea type of scenario, a lot of epoxies traditionally did take 2 or 3 days to do it correctly. And so that 1-day lifetime warranty is another great value prop. Instead of saying, hey, save 10% off, say, hey, enjoy peace of mind with a lifetime warranty. And our product manufacturer for the coating side, Pentec, does a great job of supporting the product that they push out to their dealers. So offer clear value.
Yeah, that's the same, again, on in the bath world or window world, again, same things you can tie in there. We're in and out in as little as a day. We're not going to leave a mess behind. It's time back into that thing about we're just going to make it, we're easy to work with. We're going to be super easy to work with, and we're going to make this a very easy process for you. That's, again, understanding the psychology that most homeowners fear is the hassle that they're going to get involved with here is huge. So what's next here, Jay?
Win. WPOW. Win with social proof. Customer reviews and testimonials on websites, before and after galleries show a lot of work. Awards, certificates, years in business. We don't typically really get to be on the review generating side, but we tell everybody, like you just mentioned, the installer's the last person usually in the home. Finish that floor, pull out your phone with a QR code and say, hey, look at what we did for you today. Would you be willing to leave us a review? And Mr. and Mrs. Jones get to say that Dan and Andy showed up today. They were clean, they're professional, they got it done when they said they would, and we love it. And so definitely social proof is a huge deal. And I'll move on, right? So R is relate through story.
Yeah.
Customer testimonials are really good. In a lot of the content that we do on social media, we tell the story in the text above the images. So this is where you get an opportunity to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones got to have Dan and Andy out today, and they just finished up their beautiful, my brain just went blank on a floor, beautiful concrete coating, beautiful domino chip floor, right? There we could think of the color domino. And so we tell that story. And in your social media ads, usually, tag the location and then run your ads in that area where that floor was, so that, neighbors are going, oh, I know them. They're just down the street from me. Yeah, that looks great. Yeah. So F is focus on the next step. We just kind of went through great content, great social proof, relate with a story. And then that next step is focusing on that next step is the clear call to action. Almost everything we do is get quote, right? We just want to say, hey, it's super easy for you to interact with us. It's super easy for you to get more information from us. So free estimate, get quote, book
And
now.
you're going to have like a very clear button, click here, for that. Like, and it's kind of the, for lack of a better way of describing, the big red blinking light, that is at the end of the story you're telling on that, if I'm not mistaken. Correct, Jay?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just for clarification for the listeners there.
Mm-hmm.
I know the next one is you. That's urgency, right, Jay?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And, urgency ethically, right? We need to be honest with what we're doing, but it is really important to let people know, hey, we're doing this now. And we'd like to get you included. Some of the ones that I'm not a fan of is this discount goes to the first 150 homeowners. Yeah. It's like, if you get 151, you're going to give them this discount. Mm-hmm. Those ones feel a little bit suspect. But use appropriate urgency. Hey, get this done before school starts. Hey, get this done before winter. Let's take care of you. Hey, on the honest side of it, hey, our calendar is booked, mm-hmm. right? Like on the production side, a lot of our customers like to be 6 to 8 weeks booked out, and they know that in the busy season they're going to get 10 to 12 weeks booked out, maybe. And so throw an urgency in there. Hey, why don't you get on our schedule before the busy season hits, and you can be seen within a couple of weeks rather than months.
Jay, is there anything that you do maybe differently with urgency for, and we mentioned earlier, need versus want, right? So is there, for a need, right, like a tub to shower, got to have it because it's getting harder for mom or dad to get in and out of the tub. We got to convert it over. We don't want somebody to get hurt, mm-hmm. right? I can create a little bit more of that pretty quickly by telling that story with the right, actor going in and out of a tub, right? Any tricks to creating that urgency for a want type product with maybe the right type of offer, the right type of season, that kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a good question. What we do a lot of times is we'll try and kind of create an acknowledgement of the pain point. Mm-hmm. Ugly concrete, right? Yeah. Is your concrete ugly? And then also kind of let's keep up with the Joneses. Hey, can I encourage you to improve the curb appeal of your home? And then people start thinking, oh, if I don't do this now, my home's going to be ugly for another 6 months.
I just saw one not too long ago where somebody was like, we just completed our, 500th job in this region or whatever it is, right? And that ties right into the, to that idea of keeping up with the everybody's doing it, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Or and tying back to your social proof from earlier too, like, thank you so much for our, 500th, 5-star review or whatever it might be online, right? Mm-hmm. We're so fortunate to be part of the, like, that's an advertisement that's focused on brand awareness, but right at the bottom, it's like, if you want to, be our 501st, click here and we'll be happy to come give you an estimate, right? And there's no offer. There's nothing else. It's just everybody else is doing it. Why don't you, kind of thing. So that's good stuff. So I know we got one more letter on the acronym there.
Yeah, it's localize. Do your best to be local. My team at POWRFUL, we will open Google Maps. We will do a Google search. We'll check the weather in your area. Seasonality across the Gulf area. There's hurricane season, and we'll check the weather, and the customer will come through and we'll say, hey, I hope everybody's safe. I hope you're staying dry. Right. Mm-hmm. And so being local as best you can. On the social media side, you're gonna tag the city that you're doing the install in. You're gonna drop pins in your advertising that spends money, obviously, within your service area. On the Google side, you're typically gonna want to do something like, concrete coatings near me. Mm-hmm. And you're going to want to tag the city you're in. So when people say, concrete coatings near Rochester, Minnesota, you're going to want to make sure things are local. And we one of the things that we love doing here is helping local small businesses. And so, reminding them that they get to celebrate that they're a small business and saying, hey, do you sponsor any little league teams? Do you have a sign up on the wall of the baseball field that says your business? Are you going to home shows? Are you going to car shows? Are you involved in any civic activities where you can show up wearing a polo that's logoed and saying, hey, we're local and we want to just invest in our community?
If you're looking for a little league, I coach my son's little league team, and I got to sell one sign. I just haven't had time. You just write in matt@powerful.com. I'd be happy to get you a sign down here in Richmond for sure. So. Love it. That's a good acronym. If I know if you need it repeated, Jay'd be happy to walk you through it again. Just reach out. Be happy to get you. It's kind of a good checklist of, hey, are my ads doing what they're supposed to be doing? Are they built the right way? When I saw that laid out for the first time, that's a good checklist to go through before I hit send, to set it off to whatever vendors, helping me put those things out in the world, kind of thing. Kind of quickly, because I know we're maybe coming up on our time here, Jay. One of the things that's important, we talk about working with local companies and having that local feel. In my previous life, I was, tasked with also overseeing our marketing department and making sure sales and marketing and the whole company is in line with our messaging and who we are, and that local feel was really important for us. And I think that's the same thing we're trying to build for some of the companies that we work with as well too. The way we phrase things and the psychology and the words we use is really important, right? So the messaging you're putting in there, right? Instead of saying like we install windows, right? We need to make sure that you're saying things like, we help homeowners feel more comfortable in their home and save on their energy bills, right? By installing new windows, not just new windows. You mentioned it earlier, right? We don't just coat concrete, right? We add living space to your home by making ugly concrete look beautiful. And then it's the picture of the family, setting up Thanksgiving in their garage that was an unusable space before. Do you have any other examples of things like that maybe you've seen as areas of opportunity for those kind of what I would call emotional words to be used instead of the maybe X's and O's type words?
Mm-hmm. Kind of selling on the benefits, right?
Yeah, now we're talking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know a lot of dealers or a lot of customers will make the mistake that they really love the fact that it's, this thick. The product is this thick. And it's the customer doesn't care that it's this thick. They don't care at all. Even though that it's what leads to the durability and that it's why you're going to be appreciative of the warranty, customer doesn't care. And so you look at the benefits in the case of a concrete coating, easy to clean. Hey, do you get tired of cleaning out your garage every spring and you can't get that floor clean? Tell you what, why don't you have one of our sales guys come out and give you a free quote, and they're going to show you how easy it is to keep a concrete coating of ours clean. So selling on the benefits. One day, we talked about it earlier, one day install is really good, easy to clean. This is kind of starting to get dated, but in the years of COVID, right, we can still say that, antibacterial, antimicrobial.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of pet shelters. And so when they realize, or restaurants, and so we say, hey, are you getting tired of having a dirty floor? Not only is it easy to clean, it's sanitary too.
Yeah, but it's, again, it's an interesting, choice of words you use there. It's sanitary versus antimicrobial, right? Which is a mouthful in and of itself, and it probably uses up your allotment of letters that you get on a certain print ad or something along those lines that you can't take up too much of the page at that point. I think making sure you're tying things to those, like I said, those heart words or emotional words or what's going to get somebody to stop and go, I want to know more about that, or I'd like to talk to that company. Things that we always made sure were important in our scripting and methodology with our salespeople and more thank you for trusting us with your home. That's a big deal. It's not a construction site, right? It's not a job site. Mm-hmm. This is a home, and that's a different thing. So, why does it matter to them? Why would they call you, and why would they trust you with that most important thing that they've ever spent money on in their lives, right? So you mentioned it, kind of quickly as we're getting down here to the end, Jay. If you give us kind of your top 5 or maybe not top 5, but give me top 3 mistakes you see dealers make before they, sign up with you guys. as far as common mistakes they make in their ads?
Yeah, number one is they don't have good content. Biggest mistake. When we sign up with a new dealer, we say, what kind of content do you have and how easy is it for us to get access to it? And I always cringe when they say, well, I have some pictures on my phone. I'm like, no, don't text me pictures. I don't want you to text me pictures.
Yeah, if you do,
Yeah, right.
Be very specific about what pictures you're texting Jay.
Yeah, that's right. So I'd say that's kind of the biggest mistake that they miss is your opportunity to tell a story right off the bat with great pictures. The next one, big mistake, and we already touched on this, is features versus benefits. We have dealers, they're like, well, I don't know what the deal is. I keep putting, 4 times stronger than epoxy in my ads. And it's like, yeah, well, what if I told you nobody cares? Well, they should. I mean, it's why I do this. It's better than epoxy. Yeah, but the customer doesn't care. So what are the benefits of it? So I think the feature heavy is important to, you can put that somewhere in the text, right? Like it's not that it doesn't have a place. Kind of to a little deviation here, TikTok is actually a great place for education. And so TikTok's a great place. But when you're looking at lead gen, Google, other socials, you want to lead with benefits. This makes you a better person if you have this product. Next one, weak call to action. I got to tell you, there's a lot of people like, we were talking earlier about running a mailer. It's like, first off, you got to give it time. You can't, and that's actually another mistake they make, but we'll get there. Have a good call to action. We have a lot of dealers that think, well, the product just speaks for itself. So I just got to get some pictures out there and the customers are going to be as excited as I am about it. And so they're going to buy. And so they have very weak, contact us or learn more. Learn more is it's you're giving the customer all of the responsibility. And we know that customers procrastinate. And so instead do something really simple like, hey, get quote. Free estimate, something like that.
Yeah, I know you heard.
And then,
go ahead. So I was going to say, I know I've heard you talk a little bit about, and this is, where my tech, knowledge runs out a bit, but how people are consuming ads these days being critical and that being a mistake. We were on a call not too long ago. I'd assume that's one of your common mistakes that we're seeing as well, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's, we build websites too. And pretty much almost 100% of social media is consumed on a phone. And currently websites are now viewed, around 60 to 80% through mobile devices. And so you might look at your website from your laptop and go, man, it looks great. Open the website on your phone. Does it look great on your phone? Is it easily navigable? We hold our phones and our thumb does all the work, right? So when they go to your website, can they get what they want from you with their thumb?
Yeah.
So definitely mobily optimized content, vertical format in social media, and having your website designed to work seamlessly on a mobile device for sure.
That's good stuff. Jay, I think we've given quite a great deal of content already. And I think that there's, man, if the listeners aren't taking some notes and probably still got a bunch of questions left, but we could go for another couple hours. I think, and there's probably still, another 4 or 5 days left of things to talk about and cover and more questions to be asked, but probably a good spot for us to start tying some stuff together. What do you think here?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
And I got three, our 3 rapid fire questions. We'll fire them at you today. Okay. And we'll do them a little bit different than we do them how we normally do them for our guests. And since our topic is marketing, specifically ads, we'll keep them around there. So, first question for you. When you're looking at a lead source, what's the very first number one KPI you look at to go, it's working or it's not working?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first one we look at here is the cost per result. How much does it cost for a message? How much does it cost for a lead? And that is just the first data point that starts a longer conversation. Mm-hmm. So cost per result.
It's a good one. And again, good to note that it's the start of the conversation. Don't just stop there with the decision. Keep going. I like it. All right.
Yep.
If you were going to give a marketer out there advice that hey, right now, today, you need to do this with your ads, like one thing, like add this to your game, what would it be?
Yeah, refine your clear call to action. Make sure that it is dialed in. In the old days of a newspaper, right? I don't know when the last time I actually held a newspaper in my hands, but the marketing phrase is above the fold. right? It's still used in website design. Above the fold is that first screen you see before you scroll. In your advertisements, wherever they are, they need to pick it up and within 2 or 3 seconds know exactly what they're being invited to do.
Like it. Yeah, I think that's clear and direct is important, and visual is great there. That's awesome. All right. So we talked a little bit about this earlier, but I'm going to ask you to kind of give me as defined as you can. I know that might be difficult. So with a lead source, what is the appropriate amount of time, both the minimum and the maximum for, hey, I need this amount to know that it is enough to say it's working, and that might be too long to say I need that to say it's working?
Yeah, that's a great question because they're all so different, and some of them are very hard to track. I'm going to back up and say, have a way to track results. So do you know where your leads are coming from when they call your office? If you're running TV or a billboard and you have no way to know that that customer came from that lead source, it's going to be tough to know if it's working or not. It's kind of a joke to say that half of my marketing works. I just wish I knew which half.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say social media within a week or two. Probably that first week, you're going to have a good idea of what it's going to do, but give it another week because it could be the algorithm is slowly catching on. We've run ads on social media that flop for the first 3 days, and then the algorithm catches its breath and it's a rock star, and we run it for months. Google is a much slower machine if you're running any pay-per-click campaigns. Don't make many changes. You actually reset the algorithm and it can seriously mess up what you're trying to accomplish on Google. With Google, we say 4 to 6 weeks. Create a campaign. Make sure when you create it, you take the time to do it right the first time. And you're not in there every other day looking at results and trying to change keywords and trying to change your headers or your headlines or whatever. So both of those are pretty predictable with those time frames, and you can have a good idea what to do. More traditional marketing, such as print, radio, like I said, have a good way to track it. And I know with something like print, and you can speak to this too, is get in their homes a bunch of times. And to think that any marketing medium is a one and done, I think you're a little short-sighted. Be willing to give it a good amount of time to see if it happens. If it's a mailer that's once a quarter and you decide to start it in December, it's probably not going to give you great results. Let it run for the 12 months. Let you see the season. So I'd say those things, it's a good amount of time.
Yeah, definitely every source, I think, has a different, incubation period, I guess would probably be the right way to say it, right? And in those print ones, the ones that require somebody to drive a truck around and drop off in the mail are going to take some different time, and it's got to sit on the table for a period of time, and both people got to see it and that kind of thing for sure. And I've seen too many people kill off things too quickly, unfortunately, or let them linger too long, right? But it boils down to the very first thing you started with. You have to be tracking your numbers. You have to consistently know where these things are coming from. If you don't have that, then putting a time frame on it doesn't matter. Like, you got to know exactly where they're coming from, and also know which lead sources might be helping feed the other sources, at least in a roundabout way that can help you make good decisions, at least educated in some way, shape, or form. So awesome answers, man. Jay, you're a wealth of knowledge, and your team is super good at what they do. And I know you're always open for the conversations and bouncing some ideas and some struggles off of. So if there's anybody out there that wants to know more, is super confused about some of the things that we talked about, I know Jay or myself are always open for conversations and happen the opportunity to help. So reach out. Awesome episode, Jay. It was a lot of fun. Look, for the listeners out there, I think one of the takeaways you should have here is that great ads aren't about tricks. They're about understanding people and telling clear stories and showing up very consistently.
Yeah. And great advertising isn't about being clever or creative. It's about understanding your customers' deepest needs and showing them how you're the solution they've been looking for.
Jay, I'll take it this time. It's the least comfortable thing that we do. If you've liked what you heard and you'd like to hear more, you're a glutton for punishment. We appreciate you. If you could like and subscribe and do all those things on all of the different Apple and Spotify platforms, we greatly appreciate it. We enjoy doing this, even if it's just Jay and I talking to each other. So thanks so much for listening, guys. Jay, always a pleasure, sir.
Absolutely. Yeah. Until next time, and see everybody later.
Happy hunting, guys.